Biotechnology is broadly defined as the manipulation of living organisms or parts of organisms to make products more useful or advantageous for humans. So there are a lot of different biotechnologies that we have in our lives and that have been around for many, many centuries and many, many years. And a lot of people think that all biotechnology occurs in a lab environment, and that isn't true. There's biotechnology surrounding each and every one of us every day. We use the knowledge of cells to modify activities in order to better serve people like you and I. Again, we want biotechnologies to be advantageous for humans. So there are many different applications to animal, plant, food, and microbial disciplines. The next slide compares and contrasts two common types of biotechnologies. The first is something that we probably all are very familiar with, and that is selective breeding. We talked about selective breeding a little bit earlier in the semester in vet science, but selective breeding is essentially when we take mom and dad or two different sexes and combine them to selectively breed in a specific trait. So think about you, for example, okay? You were selectively bred because mom and dad chose to conceive you, right? So that is a form of selective breeding, okay? We select for various traits or characteristics that they view as valuable and make them more pronounced in the population. So when we're talking about livestock or dog breeds or plants and plant science and crops, we are essentially looking at the genetic makeup of mom and dad, or the male and the female reproductive cells, and we are determining which characteristics we want to be more pronounced, and we breed them together to have those characteristics a little bit more pronounced. Okay, genetic engineering, on the other hand, is something that would occur more commonly in a laboratory environment, and this is essentially when we have a specific isolation or movement of genes for desirable traits without the inclusion of less desirable traits. Right. So when we selectively breed, on the other hand, we are breeding for all of the traits in mom and dad and combining them together. Genetic engineering, we can manipulate and select one specific gene and target that gene to better pronounce that specific gene in our animal or in our plant. We can add, delete, or modify various traits, creating genetically modified organisms as a result. These are the genetic traits expressed in GMOs within the United States. So as you can see, there's a lot of different GMO products, but none of these are animals. Okay, so we do not currently have any animals that are commercially available that are genetically modified. As I mentioned, livestock are selectively bred all the time. Same thing with dog breeds, cat breeds, etc. You name it. But we don't genetically engineer them. Okay, we don't do that. Those are not commercially available. We genetically engineer and genetically modify apples, potatoes, field corn, canola, alfalfa, rainbow papaya, soybean, cotton, sugar beet, sweet corn, and summer squash. We can go in a laboratory environment and isolate specific genes and make them more pronounced and not include the less desirable traits, because there's a lot of social stigma around genetic engineering as it relates to living animals, such as humans or dogs or cats or cattle. There have been examples of genetic engineering in the past with salmon, AquaVantage salmon, which we'll talk about a little bit when we get back into the classroom, hopefully. We'll do a case study with that specific fish breed. But there is not a specific animal right now that is currently being genetically modified on the market available for consumers. So just kind of fun information to know. Now we're going to end this video by you doing an activity called Race to Right. And I know that I briefly overviewed a lot of different biotechnologies in the last video, but brainstorm, what are some different products that you use that come from biotechnology? So I don't want you to just write down corn. It's okay if you write corn, but maybe think about something a little bit more specific too, like ethanol, or the corn that goes into what my cattle eat, and then I eat the cattle in the form of beef, right? So you can think of different byproducts too that involve corn. Or soda, for example. High fructose corn syrup is generally derived from corn. Corn is genetically modified or genetically engineered. Okay, so take some time, fill out the Race to Right. I'm going to look and see to make sure you have at least like 10 to 15 or as many as that you can think of in this little exercise, and we'll come back and see how you did. Thanks for watching.